Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here. Doing this video because I got another random crappy story for you guys. This one's crappy compared to the last story I did about like a random car accident stuff. Because in this case, it was someone else's fault and they messed up a bunch of other people's stuff. And this happened on Saturday. This was Saturday around like, I want to say like 4 or 5, something like that. I'm with my girlfriend, we're in her car, and we're in Detroit, we're on, it doesn't really matter where we were, but we were on like 8 Mile in Wyoming, for people who might be in the area. And we're sitting at this stoplight, we just did like a random thing because we went to see your dad, and he needed bread. We went to Kroger to get some bread, and we went down the road, and then we're coming back, we're sitting at a stop, at a red light, we're the second car, and we see this guy on the other side of the road, and he's flying down. And it doesn't look like he's stopping. It looks like he's just gonna shoot through this red light, and that's what he does. But there's a car that is coming down the road. Like, they weren't at the light as it turned green, so they weren't really out as far as they could have been. Because honestly, if they were already at the light, they probably would have died. I honestly think that as fast as he was going, if they got like seriously hit from the side, they would have. I feel like they would have at least been injured if they were actually hit from the side compared to how everything played out. But they were, I guess like, a little ways down as the light turned green. And of course, like any normal person, it's like, oh, I see the light turn green before I even get to it. The light's been red for a little bit, like, because we were sitting there, this guy who's coming down the road, he wasn't even there when the light first turned red. So it's like, oh, nobody's going through. It's like any other person, you would assume it's safe to go through. It's been green for quite a while. People have seen that it's red for more than long enough to, slow down. So, of course, these people come out because they have the green light. And this dude is flying down the road, so they, of course, end up hitting his car. Their car gets destroyed. Like, it looks like it's just the front, but their car, is messed up. He clips the truck in front of my girlfriend's car, and then he slams straight into us. It was almost head on. He, like, hit kind of like the corner of her car, but he hit it so hard, I'm pretty sure he didn't slow down at all. Like, he got like sideswiped, I guess, and it didn't seem like he even remotely like registered what was really happening, and he just kept going. It was like he was going full speed. Like, he was like, oh, I got hit, let me try to keep going, and he basically just veered over towards us. And he slammed straight into us, and of course it was the whole thing. Airbags came out, and the ringing in your ears and stuff. And it was just a really crazy experience. I was like, he's about to hit us, and my girlfriend seriously thought that she was gonna die because, she's freaking out, and she's saying like, she was saying like, no, 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 because she saw this guy flying at us. And before he hit, I was like, I knew it because it's like he's flying right at us. So it's about to happen. So, we had to just brace ourselves. Like, I just braced myself. Ears pop and stuff. Fortunately, we were both fine. Like, there wasn't like any glass or anything really. We were just kind of banged up a little bit. Like, the worst, we really got like some soreness, and that was really about it. So on that side of things, it was really fortunate. But she gets out. She's freaked out. Of course, her car is completely destroyed. It's like her first new car that she's ever released. So of course, it's like devastating to her. And this guy, I don't know what this guy was on, because he wasn't drunk. He wasn't drunk, I could tell that, but he had to have been on something. Like, it wasn't just, oh, I'm a crappy driver. He had to have been on something. Like, I feel like he had to have been. And so he gets out. Of course, he's totally fine. His car is destroyed too, but he's fine. And, he tries to come towards her, and she's freaking out. I'm trying to calm her down. And he's acting like it's the other people's fault, like they made me hit you and stuff. Like, he just didn't know what was going on. Like, he didn't realize like he ran a red light because he was on whatever. Whatever was going on, he didn't see what was really happening, and he's just flying, and it's like, oh, they made me, hit you. And as soon as she mentioned like, call the cops or whatever, he's like, oh, I don't have a license. And so I'm with her, and I'm trying to like calm her down and stuff, and then someone mentions like, oh, where did he go? Because apparently when she mentioned that, he decided to just take off. So he walks away or something, and this made me really mad, because like I was mad about the whole situation because this guy, but then I got mad at the people that were there, because it's like this guy, he gets out of the car, like I said. my girlfriend was yelling at him. Like, it was clear he was the one that crashed the car. And there were already a bunch of people out because this was, before we could even get out there, of course, there was like a church like right next to us. So a ton of people were already out there before we even were able to like get out of the car, because he hit, he hit two different cars, and it's impossible not to have heard, the car when he hit us, because like I said, he destroyed it, so he like flew into us. And it just makes, like, when I think about it now, it just makes me so mad. Like, everyone just kind of let this dude just walk away. And this woman, it made me really mad even in the moment, because she said something stupid like, oh, he said he was going to get like a tow truck. And I was so mad. I was like, I didn't say anything. I was just in the moment at the time. I just went after him. But I was thinking, like, how could she believe something so stupid to just let this guy walk away? And he's like, oh, I'm going to get a tow truck or something. And it just made me so mad when I first heard her say that. But, and this is dumb on my part, but I actually did go after the guy, which is a very bad idea. You should not do that at all. But in that moment, it's kind of like when people have road rage, except this was a more legitimate reason to actually chase somebody down. And, basically the whole thing was he caused this huge accident. And, he totals my girlfriend's car, and he totals this other woman's car, the one who actually had the green light. And he's just walking away like, oh, they made me do it. And once he hears 911, it's like, oh, I don't have a license. And he walks away. And I followed him a little bit, and like I said, that was a bad idea. I shouldn't have done that. But in that sort of moment, and I wish someone was with me. Like, I wish someone just, I wish I even said something like, can somebody come with me to help me get this guy? And I was just thinking, like, clearly no one's paying attention, and so I just went behind him. But he took off on me, and I hope that I got enough information, because of course I called the cops as I was falling behind him. And I think I know where he went, because he hopped a fence, and I went around the block. It was like the second house right off the corner, and I'm hoping he wasn't smart enough to think I'll jump over this fence and then jump through the other fences. That's all I could think of. I wasn't thinking of that in the moment. But when I went around the corner, because he was in like a very distinctive shirt, he was like bright orange shirt. So when I didn't see him, I was like, okay, I think he went into this house. So that's what I'm hoping happened, and I told the police that and everything, and I still have to do an actual report. But he did leave the car behind, so I'm hoping that he was so doped up. Like, this is probably the best we could hope for at this point, is that it was actually his car, and he was just so doped up or whatever that he didn't realize that he'd be caught either way, and it's like, oh, I'll just get out of here. And he kept saying he didn't have a license, so he's not the type of person where it's like, oh, he could hop up to Canada or whatever and escape. He's screwed. Like, if you don't have a license, I highly doubt that you have a passport, so I'm sure he's not going anywhere. And all I can do is hope that this car, once we get the information back, it doesn't come back like, oh, it was just a stolen car, because then those people are double screwed, because technically, even if someone stole your car, you're still responsible. Your insurance and everything is still responsible for that, if it's in an accident, which really sucks. That's a horrible way to do it, but obviously it's kind of like somebody has to be to blame, and it's so it would suck, even especially if it was stolen and then you find it total. That's always the worst kind of experience when you have a stolen vehicle. So I'm hoping that when we get this information, it does end up being his car, or at least someone related to him, because I'm gonna have to do some extra information, like, alright, it belongs to this person, but as long as it doesn't come up stolen, that'll be good, because like, he has someone's car, someone knows this guy, and that's all I can really hope for. But it's such a crappy situation, and he just takes off, and now my girlfriend's freaking out. Of course, she doesn't have a car, so it's like, what's going to be covered, what won't be covered. Is she going to be able to get a new car? She's supposed to be getting a new house at right now as well. So it's a ton of stuff, just all compacted on her. And it's like, man, I've been trying to get a job to do anything in general to get some extra money, and now it's like even more urgent than it ever has been. And I just hope that it works out. Like, we have no idea how things are going to play out. My plan is to get the information out there, honestly, because this happened in the city of Detroit, and we get the jokes all the time, the city's bad and crap, but one thing that's very serious here is that the Detroit Police Department doesn't do as much as we'd like, and I have another experience where that actually happened when our house was broken into. It was years ago when I was younger, and house is broken into, you know, we call them and everything, and they didn't show. I remember like nothing happened. They didn't show up for hours. You know, like the house is broken into, and I guess it's like, well, they're already gone, so it's like whatever. We'll see you when we see you, and that's kind of how it was. And so, you know, it's just that type of situation. And honestly, you know, when I call the cops, you think they'd come out like this is someone that, you know, caused a 4-car accident. And I'm like, hey, I'm pretty sure they went. I gave them an address and everything, and I highly doubt they actually, you know, went to check it out. But it's like, you know, I did all this stuff, and it's like, we haven't heard anything back. It's been like 2 days. We gave them, you know, we had the license plate that night that he left the car there, and yet we still haven't heard anything. That's like the easiest thing in the world, and that should take, you know, one day. You know, like I said, it happened Saturday night. Sometime yesterday, we should have heard back from them, like, hey, this is the information, at least on the car. If, like I said, whether it's stolen or if it's, you know, not the guy, but, you know, some picture would come up and it'd be like, okay, that's not the person. But, you know, that's like, you know, as they say on TV, that is a lead. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's the easiest thing in the world. It's a license plate, and yet we still don't have anything back from them, because it's just one of those situations where unless you're dying, sometimes you're just screwed, and that's all there is to it. Unless you're dying or the person is flat out there and it's like that's who did it, you just kind of done. Like that's all there is to it, and you have to kind of figure it out your own way. So that's kind of what's been going through my head the past couple of days. And not, you know, every time I go to sleep I'm up for like an hour because I'm just so mad about what I wish I could have done. And you know, like kind of wishing I like tried to tackle the guy or something. But then it's like, you know, even in the moment I knew, I was like, you know, if this guy's doped up, even if I could take him, because he was like probably like, I would say he's like in his 50s. But when people, you know, for people who might not know this, when you're doped up and stuff, and you may have seen the videos and not even realize it, but when you see footage or hear about stuff where it's like, man, they had to use like a dozen cops to actually tackle some guy because he's like flipping people off, or like not flipping people off, but like literally grabbing people and flipping them around, it's because they're on drugs, and it's like they don't feel, you know, they don't feel as much pain. And I would assume that that's what was happening with that guy, considering how he was like flying through and everything. I highly doubt he was in a simple position, you know, when the car hit. He probably like hit his head and everything. And you know, of course, he gets up and he's like, oh, they caused me to hit you and all this stuff, and then he, you know, tries to take off. But I don't know, all I can do is hope that everything works out, and this is just a crappy situation. It was a simple day. We were having a good time. We had, you know, met with her family and everything. They had a cookout, and you know, it's Labor Day weekend, and it was supposed to just be simple. We were gonna do that, go visit her dad and her brother, and then head back here, and everybody's gonna come over. We were just gonna hang out and have a like a little game night, and that was it. It was supposed to be that type of night, and this random dude just comes in and ruins it and destroys her car, and like I said, destroys another lady's car. The truck in front of us got off fairly easy. I mean, of course, it still sucks. Their car got hit, but basically for them, the back bumper was like destroyed on one side, but their car was actually still drivable. Like my girlfriend's car and the other car that actually had the green light, both their cars were done. So, you know, I'm sure, you know, and I believe that woman had kids with her, or she had at least other people in the car. So I know that's a huge deal, and they're dealing, you know, probably dealing with the same crap, like, you know, going to the doctor and spending extra money to make sure they aren't hurt in any random ways that they don't, you know, really can't feel, because my girlfriend did that last night. So it's just all this stuff, and then you have this random dude, and we just don't know who he is, where he's at, or anything like that, and still haven't heard anything with the greatest information you could possibly have, which is a license plate. And it's like, how do we not have anything, you know, off of information like that? But just had to share this story. It was a crazy experience, and my girlfriend, obviously she was freaking out. She, like I said, she thought that she was gonna die, you know, because this car was, it hit her side, you know. So yeah, I was freaked out. Like right after it happened, the first thing I thought was, is she okay? And you know, I'm trying to ask her if she's okay, and of course she's like in shock. So she's not really answering me. She's just like freaking out and hopping out of the car. And it's like that, you know, that makes sense. And I was me, I guess, keeping the, you know, a level head in the situation, because it's like, all right, as long as she's fine, then, you know, I don't, you know, the car, it sucks that the car's gone, but honestly, it's like, as long as she's fine, everything else is totally relevant to me. But she was good, and I was fine, and yeah, fortunately everybody else was fine. Unfortunately, I obviously, you know, I kind of wish something happened to him, like if he just, hurt his leg. That would have been the best thing if he just couldn't walk away or if he was limping away. If he was limping, I would have tackled him. Honestly, that was the only reason I didn't, was because I could tell that he wasn't that hurt, and it was like, if I do this, it'll be a crazy situation because, like I said, he's doped up. He could probably take way more hits than I could, even though I'm much younger than this guy and I would normally be able to take him. He's in a crazy situation. He's in a totally different state than I am right now, even after this accident, because I'm not on drugs or whatever he's on, because you could clearly tell just the way he was. So I'm hoping that, tomorrow we can get some information. Actually, I called my dad and he actually reminded me that we have a cousin who could look up all this information for the license plate. So I should have that very soon, which makes me really happy. It's at least a big step, and I could, take that information to the police as well when I do the report and be like, hey, it's not just this random stuff or anything. It's like, this is exactly who owns the car, and you could find them. And the best thing ever would be if the license plate belonged to someone who actually did live at the house that I believe the guy went to, because I'm pretty sure he went into that house. Someone looked out that window when I went around the block, and there was nothing happening on that block for anyone to look out their window whatsoever. So I'm hoping that I'm right and that was him looking at me through the window. And then I just, I took off and ran back to the scene of the accident. But crazy situation. I think this is the first time I've actually been in an accident like that. I've seen accidents like that. Like I was there when an accident happened before, years ago with my aunt, like a huge freeway accident, like crazy stuff. So I've seen stuff like that, and this, like I said, we both came out fine, so it wasn't even that bad of an accident outside of the fact that the car, was destroyed. But just a crazy situation, and then, the craziest thing isn't even the accident, it's the fact that he got away. And it's not, and, like I said, it makes me mad when I think about the fact that all those people were there and no one was paying attention to the fact that this guy in this bright orange shirt that says Comerica Park on the back, it's just, he was the one who did it, and everyone kind of just let him walk away. And it just, like, that's what gets to me the most. Like, everyone was there. There's so many people out there when she was yelling at him, and no one was paying attention that this guy was just walking away. And I wish that our positions were reversed, because I was holding her, so I was looking away from the accident, and if I was looking towards it and I saw him walking away, I would have been able to get him before, because he was literally at the other end of the block. Like, he turned right and went to the next block, and that's how far away he got before anyone even said, like, oh, where did that guy go? He was already on the next block. So I wish, there's just a million things I wish, but obviously it's the way that it is. So at this point, all we can do is hope that either the police get some information, or I can get whatever I can from my cousin, and hopefully we get something useful. And honestly, this is one of those things where I was like, if the cops can't find anything, and people do this all the time, if they don't find anything by next Saturday, since it happened on Saturday, I gave them a week. If nothing comes from them, I'm going to the news, because I'm like, that's the best way you can get anything done, is if you go to the news and say, hey, put pressure on them. We have, especially when you have information, it's not like, oh, it's just a description of a guy. And even then, they should look into it, because like I mentioned, I even have an address that they could possibly go to. And, that's one situation. But when we have the license plate and you have at least a possible address, they could at least check it out. And, we don't get anything from that within a week, I'm definitely, taking this to the news. But I'm hoping that we get some good information. We should, with my cousin looking into things, I'll at least have some solid information, 100%. Like, this is exactly who owns the car. And like I said, my highest hope is that it isn't reported stolen, because that would be the greatest thing. Like, if it's not stolen, and it either, I would assume it doesn't belong to the guy, because he kept talking about he didn't have a license. So either, it does belong to him, but he isn't supposed to drive it, or it just belongs to someone that he knows. And that's what I hope. It's one of the two, and I really hope it doesn't come up stolen, because then that just screws over someone else, and this guy still might get away with it, even though, that might help out my girlfriend. It's like, that still blows for whoever's car, if it was stolen, that really sucks for them, because now it's like, oh, our car was stolen, and now it's totaled, and is responsible for 3 other cars being messed up, and that would, really mess up other people's lives. And you still have this random a-hole who just was doing whatever, you know. So I don't know. I had to make a video talking about this because it's just been on my mind. It'll probably keep me up tonight too, because every night, you know, the past 2 nights is just like, man, I just keep getting mad. Like I sit in bed, I'm honestly in bed for an hour just thinking about what I wish I could have done, or, you know, anything. Like I wish I could have seen something, or I wish something was a little different, but it's just, you know, you can't change the past, you can only really think about it. But want to do this video. I know, I guess if you guys have, you know, any similar experiences that you want to talk about, obviously I've gone through a crazy experience, so I can easily talk to you about it. If you don't want to put it here, you can private message me if you don't want to just put all your information out there. But like I said, I just wanted to do this, kind of just really talk about it, because it was a crazy situation, and, you know, it really messed up things for my girlfriend, and it just sucks. And that's what makes it so bad. Like, if it's me, it's always like, that really blows, and I wish this didn't happen. But when it's other people I care about, it just makes it worse to me, because I know I can't do much. It's not like if I was rich and I could just be like, it's cool, I'll pay for this, and I could get her another car. It would still suck that this guy got away, but I would feel a million times better if I could do that, and, you know, even help the other people and stuff in their cars, and be like, hey, I'm like super, I got like millions and millions of dollars. I would love that. It would still suck, like I said, this random idiot ruined people's days and, you know, messed a lot of stuff up, but it would be a very different situation. But just normal, simple job where I don't make a bunch of money, I can't really, you know, help the one person I'm involved with that was, you know, part of the accident. It just makes it worse. So I just, you know, wanted to make a video to talk about it. Like I said, if you guys have any comments that you want to put in the comment section below, of course you can. Or, like I said, you can private message me. But, of course, thank you guys for watching.